questions throughout the day, you can head over to their stall to ask more questions. We have got a lot of people with us today, and I don't want to get us stuck. We're already a little bit behind. So what we do, me and Nathan introducing ourselves, and then we will hand over. So hi, I'm Ben. I'm Vice President, Charity and Community, Oxford SU. I just finished my geography degree at St Catherine's. There are 6 sabbatical officers at Oxford SU, and we're full-time staff. We're elected, and we take a year out of our studies, or we just finished our degree, and we work to represent students and improve the student experience at Oxford as part of the Students' Union. And all the fun stuff that you see as part of the Virtual Freshers' Fair is all looked after by us, and all the wonderful clubs and societies, sports teams as well. So if you've had a chance to look around, you've obviously made it to this session, so you know your way around a little bit around the fair. And we're going to jump straight in and talk about how you can get involved in tackling the climate crisis, which is something that we're really passionate about at Oxford SU. In our student council, we have declared that that's a key priority for us, and we are really involved in a number of key decisions that have been made in this space, and lobbying the university to do more. But I'm not going to spoil what they were, as I'm sure the team will be going over this shortly. And I'm going to hand over to Nathan to briefly introduce, and then we'll get into it.
Brilliant. Hi everyone. So I'm Nathan Lawson. I'm also a current geography student at Jesus College, and I'm president of Oxford Climate Society. So I'll probably let Ellie introduce the society, and perhaps towards the end of her talk, I can just quickly point to a few things that the students could do in terms of signing up to newsletters. Is that the best way to go about it? Brilliant. So if we pass over then to Ellie to present.
Perfect. Just before you do, we've got the Q&A function at the bottom. So if you have any questions throughout, chuck them in, and I'm sure we can answer them or point you in the right direction. And everybody else who's joining us will be introducing themselves later on in the session. So over to you, Ellie.
Great, thanks. So this is just an introduction to kind of climate action at Oxford, everything you can do to get involved. And I'm going to be presenting, I'm Ellie, and I'll be presenting as well with Bella, who's there as well, I think.
Hi. Yeah, I'm just here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, all good.
Okay.
Cool. So why does it matter getting involved in climate action at Oxford? Well, Oxford University does have some of the world's leading climate researchers, but actually climate action is somewhat lacking behind. So they do have a department for sustainability, which is fantastic, which have made a 50% carbon reduction target. But there's this independence of the colleges from the university, which means colleges don't actually have to adopt the target. So it's really important that students and staff at colleges are putting the pressure on within their colleges and departments to make sure that everyone is committing to the target. Secondly, Oxford undergraduates end up across the world in a huge range of different subjects, in different areas. I'm still stuck in university. So providing climate education is really important, because wherever they go, it's going to be something that they'll have to deal with. And thirdly, Oxford City is actually very committed to going green. So they're very proud of the fact that last year they had the first citizen assembly on climate change. And it's important that the university, being a big part of the city, keeps up with this and makes sure that we work together to make Oxford as green as possible.
So now that we've hopefully convinced you that this does actually matter, like, why should you get involved? I'm sure you've been bombarded with a variety of different really great societies today. And I'd say that the reason why you should get involved in this is twofold, in that if you really want to have an impact in your time here, this is a really great way to do it if climate is something that is important to you, which I'm sure it is if you're here. So the university, though it's not overly ambitious in its targets, is receptive to environmental concerns. So they have their own sustainability team. And also, though Oxford is quite a small city, Oxford University, as I'm sure you all know, is a pretty big influential institution. So it's really in a good position that if it did step up as a climate leader, it would really kind of allow others to follow. Also, in terms of what's actually in it for you, of course, you're already here to learn from leading academics in your subject, but if climate work is something that also interests you, coming along to our talks or to the School of Climate Change can allow you to learn from some of the top academics in all sorts of climate work, from science to policy to economics. And you'll also meet a load of wonderful people, which you will, whichever society you're involved in. But I would say that OCS is really great in that there's a huge range of collaboration between staff, students, members of the city, And for example, they're very high postgraduate engagement as well as undergraduate. So it's great for meeting different people.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, you go.
So in terms of if you do want to get involved, you're kind of broken it down into the main things, which we'll go into more detail, or Ellie will in a second. So you can kind of educate yourself further on the climate crisis, and that's something that's really important to us at OCS. You can join a society, hopefully OCS, but there are many others that a few people are here to talk from. You can campaign for change in your college, department, or at a more university level, which something like the student union is probably best suited for. And also there's an important niche for creating content, articles, and more highbrow poetry and art for our zines.
So for talks and events, Oxford Climate Society puts on weekly talks, which cover a range of topics from policy to science. And you can find out more at the term card, on our term card, and they have speakers from around the world. But there are also lots of academic talks from climate scientists and also policymakers through the Oxford Martin School and Environmental Change Institute, and all their talks are online. And there's also past talks on the YouTube channel. So there are lots of different ways in which you can learn more through talks. But if you're also after a more formal educational program, we run something called the Oxford School of Climate Change, which is an 8-week lecture series where you have to apply ahead of time, but it covers everything from climate science to policy. It has different academics in every week. And by the end, you get a really thorough knowledge of the problems that we're facing today, but also a lot of the different solutions that people have come up with. So check out the website if you want to apply for that for one of the terms.
So in terms of joining a society, Oxford Climate Society is the biggest student-led student society, but there are lots of others. So if you want to, it really depends on the kind of angle that you want to approach it from, but also all these societies kind of collaborate with each other. So it's very much not an either or. You can get involved with lots of things. And the student union also runs a lot of more kind of volunteering initiatives alongside what Ben talked about of kind of lobbying the university for change. So there are lots of ways to get involved. I briefly mentioned earlier, but if you count yourself as more of a creative type, there are lots of things to do in terms of content. For if you've been on the OCS website, we have a great blog. We also have a kind of more academic style publication called Anthroposphere. And you can also, outside of the climate societies, be producing climate related content for the student magazines, or you can go more creative and produce kind of poetry, art, whatever floats your boat for our Rise zine or magazines like the ISIS.
Cool. Now, just turning to sort of the campaign side of things, which is more of the climate action that we've been talking about. Last year, the Student Union collaborated with lots of different student societies and got lots of input from leading academics to come up with this document called the Oxford Climate Action Plan, which lays out how students want the university to progress in terms of its climate policies in the coming years. And it breaks it down into 3 main areas. Firstly, operations. It asks that Oxford go net zero by 2030 and identifies lots of areas in which this must occur. So through from travel to food to the buildings to energy. And then secondly, it lays out that every student should get access to climate education of some form or other. So whether this is through departments, offering more climate options, or also for cross-departmental educational programs that students can optionally sign up to. And thirdly, it highlights the importance of using Oxford's finances responsibly. So divesting from fossil fuels, but also using its investments in ways that support sustainable change and green progress.
Yeah, so in terms of campaigning for change, obviously this is the uni target is the 50% reduction by 2030. The student kind of climate action plan calls for 100% reduction. But however ambitious or unambitious the official target is, because of this autonomy thing we talked about, a lot of the brunt will fall on the colleges to make the real changes. So I think this really allows a big opportunity for you to campaign in your college. So emailing the appropriate people, just find the relevant staff can really get you somewhere, because also colleges tend to be much more receptive to people who are actually members, so it gives you a kind of insider position. You can also run, in terms of college, run for a JCR or MCR position. And obviously the obvious one is environment and ethics rep, but also don't overlook ones like catering officer or accommodations officer for things like retrofitting, food waste or energy use. There's also, sorry to run on, there's also Green Impact, which is an initiative run by the university sustainability team, where basically you sign up as a team with probably students and staff, tends to work best, and you work through a workbook and you get accredited with either bronze, silver or gold by the end of it in terms of how sustainable the operations you have kind of got going in your college. And then of course, I've done this all in a very odd order, but there's also the OCS workshops, which me and Ellie are kind of in charge of in the action team. And while the weekly events are more kind of global blue sky thinking, these are much more practical and Oxford based, and are for just any student or staff who wish to make the operations at their college more sustainable. And then finally, as I mentioned, there's a lot of things you can get involved in with the student union.
Cool. And in terms of getting every student access to climate change, OCS currently runs a campaign called Climate on the Curriculum, where providing templates for writing to members of staff in your department to ask for more climate related content, and also working to see if there is a way of getting a cross departmental series going that people can sign up to. So yeah, if you're interested in that, check out this campaign on the OCS website. Oh, and yes, for campaigning for responsible finances, Oxford Climate Justice Campaign did an amazing job over the last few years of campaigning for divestment, and the university divested in April officially, which was fantastic. But this is very much not the end of the story, because colleges are independent, so they're continuing to fight for divestment in colleges. So I think they're going to speak in this same presentation about more of the kind of how we can campaign for Oxford's finances to be used responsibly.
We also wanted to give you a few examples of the sort of things that students really can achieve. So sustainable food is quite a good way to approach things in your college, because obviously the college are dependent on the students as consumers of the food, so they kind of have to keep up with student preferences. And obviously our generation has a sort of unprecedented number of vegans and vegetarians, and a plant-based diet is one of the best things you can do for your carbon footprint. So the best way to do this is normally to go through your JCR or MCR and try and get put through motions that could be to do more with having plant-based options, a meat-free Monday, or you could make sure that you have smaller portions available to reduce food waste.
And finally, we mentioned earlier, there's this campaign to get more climate coverage. So what can you do? We've got an open letter now to the university to ask for more climate coverage. Also asking tutors for reading recommendations. It sounds silly, but having just a list of climate related reading lists a list of climate related readings in your topic is something that OCS has been trying to put together to encourage also the department to bring more options. So and join OCS's climate action team. That's a little plug, but that's one of the things you could do. Cool. And we now have a guide that has information about everything we've just discussed plus more. It's on the OCS website as well. I think it's shared on the Facebook event page for this event. So if you have a scan, you can have a look, and it's got all the links as well to everything we've mentioned so far. And that's everything from us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Brilliant, thank you very much. We're now going to hear from a couple of the groups that you mentioned. And first, for a kind of brief introduction, and then we're going to go to some questions from the other people on our panel about different opportunities that we've got involved. And first, we're going to hear from two groups who are going to just give us a kind of 3-minute talk max, just about what they do, what they get up to, and how you can get involved. And we'll go to Peace first from Oxford Sustainability, if that's okay.
Yes. So can everyone hear me properly? Okay, yeah, great. So I'm Peace, and I'm this year's Oxford Sustainability President. We actually work under the OCS, and as a society, our role is to promote sustainable living and practices among the student body, and also within the wider community whenever possible. So one of the main projects that we run is green trashing. And so basically, as you probably know or have seen in photos, trashing is this big tradition at Oxford where students, as the name suggests, trash themselves and jump in the river to mark the end of exams. But unfortunately, many of the products that are used during trashing are not sustainable. So for example, plastic confetti is used and is really dangerous for wildlife, especially if it ends up in the river and is consumed by aquatic life. So we provide sustainable and environmentally friendly alternatives like biodegradable glitter, for example. And so we offer these through the student common rooms or through sales that we organize. This year, we're also hoping to make use of new technology, so like apps that are now available and allow students or just locals from any community to be alerted when food from a local store is going to go off the shelf and the store would like to donate it. One of the new projects that we're also going to be running this year is a campaign to encourage students to use more sustainable menstrual items. So for example, the use of menstrual cups rather than single-use tampons and pads. And I'm personally really excited about that campaign. So we'll be working alongside the welfare department in every college to run that campaign. So yeah, that is a brief overview of the Oxford Sustainability, and we're currently recruiting members. So do reach out on Facebook or to OCS, and I'm sure they'll be able to get you through to us. So yeah, that is thank you.
Brilliant, thank you very much, Pete. And now we're going to head over to Anna, who's going to tell us a little bit about the Oxford Climate Justice Campaign, which Ellie and Bella mentioned earlier. Anna?
Hi, I'm just going to put up a quick presentation. Can you all see this?
Yeah.
Awesome. So, hi everyone. My name is Anna, and I'm here. I'm a fourth year PhD student in biophysics, and I'm here to introduce the Oxford Climate Justice Campaign. So we're a student activist group who have gotten together first couple of years ago when it came to light how much the Oxford University invests in fossil fuels. And we have been campaigning for the Oxford University to cut its ties with fossil fuel companies. We also do discussions about climate crisis and climate justice, as well as much more. So why are we doing this? Despite all the evidence, all the science that we know, the university still takes millions of pounds from fossil fuel companies, and colleges are still investing in fossil fuels. On top of that, the career service also promotes fossil fuel careers. With all of this in mind, the world is currently set for 4 degrees of warming, which is incompatible with society and life as we know it. So it seems like that Oxford may be a climate science leader, but it's a climate action loser. So what do we do? What can we do about this? So we organize intersectional rallies, which are protests together with a couple of other groups with similar aims. So in the picture on the bottom, you can see such a rally organized together with the Living Wage Campaign, Oxford Migrant Solidarity, or the Common Ground. We also do protests, which can take different forms, such as holding up banners or questions during the Vice Chancellor's questions. We also work on college divestment campaigns and fossil-free careers. So as an example of what we've done in the past year, we collaborated with Direct Action of Divestment to occupy St. John's College from Quad. This was to protest their continuous investments of over £80 million into BP and Shell. And we stayed there for 5 days with massive tents occupying it in January in winter. And actually it was great fun, and the event was great success and got international news coverage. Now onto some of our successes. As was already mentioned, the Oxford University divested from fossil fuels, or voted to divest in April. And this comes years after tireless campaigning from all different academics and students and staff. So we were very happy about that. Next, we also had success with Balliol College, which pledged to divest early in the year. Again, following many protests and student and staff pressure. So finally, just to say, if you would like to join us and get involved, we meet every Wednesday, 6 p.m. on Zoom. You can sign up using this link, or you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. But we also have a website. Everyone is welcome, and look forward to seeing you at our meetings. Thank you.
Brilliant, thanks very much, Anna. That was perfect. And you've given your bit about how people can get involved. And I'm going to hand briefly back to Nathan about how you can get involved with Oxford Climate Society, which also is answering the question. We'll pop the links in the chat as well, Anna and Nathan, as you go. Nathan, over to you briefly.
Brilliant. I think it's okay. Brilliant. Literally just three really quick points to finish off from Ellie's PowerPoint, which is the best way to stay up to date with everything that OCS does is to sign up to our newsletter. So if you go to our website, oxfordclimatesociety.com, the first thing there'll be a big banner saying to sign up, and just put preferably your Oxford email in there, if not an alternative one. The second big thing that we've got going this term and next term is our School of Climate Change series, which is basically an 8-week webinar series led by world-leading Oxford academics. And it's basically like almost like a climate 101, so everything that you need to know about climate change. And the last thing is to follow us on our various social media links, which are on the bottom of the screen. And for our events specifically, they always go live on Facebook first. That's probably the best place to keep up to date with our events. I think that's everything then.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Nathan. Yeah, it's all there. And of course, they've also got us both Oxford Climate Society and Climate Justice Campaign have got a stall in the fair, so you can go away and chat to them as well. And you can download the guide that Ellie and Bella talked about from the webinar just behind, just where you came in to log in. You can go back and get it there. And you can also see the other exciting webinars we've got coming up later today. Brilliant. What we're going to do now is we're going to have a bit of a panel discussion. So if you want to have any questions about where to get involved, where to get started, feel free to pop them in the chat, or any questions about what you've seen before. We're also going to bring a couple of other people just to tell you a little bit about their experience of getting involved and volunteering. We're going to go to them first. So I thought maybe we can start with Emma. If you want to tell just a little bit about your experience of volunteering, what you got involved in, and how you found it.
Yeah, absolutely. Can everyone hear me? Is that working?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so this summer, actually, I spent 3 weeks working at the Oxford Environmental Sustainability team. I'm just starting a science DPhil, science research. So I interned looking at laboratory optimization, specifically looking at single-use plastics and glassware, because, I mean, if any of you listening are scientists, and just generally, like on a day-to-day basis as an individual nowadays, we go through so much single-use plastic. Like, I mean, you probably saw me I picked this up and I'm reusing this, but I mean, I should probably get, a reusable one properly. And so there's a really big problem in labs. And what I tried to do over the 3 weeks was just compile as much information as possible, look at what other universities and big research facilities and institutions are doing with regards to reducing their plastic use, and then write a guidance report for Oxford. So hopefully, if some of you are in labs, you might see this going around. And I think my biggest takeaway from reading everything was just realizing that there are two things that really impact our plastic use and waste. And that's firstly ethos. So how we view that plastic waste, how we view what we're doing to our society, how we're involved in our community, and what damage we can do or what improvements we can make as an individual. And secondly, that it's worth starting from the top. So really putting pressure on the big organizations that sell us the plastics to say, can you research a better way of doing this? Does it have to be plastic? Can we use glass instead, or some other material? And I think for all of you listening, I'd really encourage getting involved, or definitely at least getting in touch or looking at the Oxford Environmental Sustainability team, because they do super cool work all the time. And there are about 25 of them as a team, and a lot of their work goes under the radar, but they really support the whole university. So I think it's really worthwhile looking, and they really cover a huge range of topics. Yeah, they're vital, so please support them. Ben, I think you might be on mute still. Sorry.
Yeah. I've survived all morning and the boomer energy has emerged. But there we go. Yeah, Vera's here is from the Environmental Sustainability team. So if you have any specific questions about any of those projects, then I'm sure Vera will be happy to answer. Next, we're going to go over to Viola just to talk a little bit about how you got involved in tackling the climate crisis at college level.
Yeah, so I'll do the microphone check. Is that okay? Yeah. Cool. So yeah, I'm Viola. I'm a geographer at Jesus College as well. It's a lot of climate people there for some reason.
And I'm part of OCS, but I am also the Environment and Ethics rep at the college, which you'll hear as E&E as well. And it's part of the JCR committee, so that involves people from welfare, president, all of those. And we're basically involved in communicating student concerns with the college and the governing body, so all of the tutors who decide what happens in the college. And I think a really nice thing actually about the E&E reps is that we're really well joined up across the university. So it's one of the few positions where actually I know a number of E&E reps from other colleges, and ideas are pinged off each other all the time, and really, really useful. And you know that people who are doing E&E are also embedded in other places. So me with OCS and other people doing green trashing campaigns and things like that. So if you want to get involved in that, and how I got involved, it was just through the elections that take place in your JCR. You will notice them happen. And I'm particularly lucky at Jesus, we have 2 E&E reps. So there was a constitutional change, so we now have 2 of us. And so I work with another called Lydia, who actually, she was elected in her first term. So if you're a fresher, this is still definitely a position that you can go for. It doesn't require you to know loads and loads, you just need to care. And in my time on the committee, a couple of things I've done. So we actually started a subcommittee because we think this job is huge, and it goes from hosting events in college, keeping people engaged, to also the kind of long-term campaigns that go on in the background. So also shout out to one of our members, Sarah and Owen, who has been doing loads for us on divestment, as was mentioned, and that's come a long way. I think that's a particularly good thing to be working on actually at the moment in the pandemic, when you can't be holding as many events and you can't be doing as many small changes in college just because of the restrictions. The long-term changes are something that are really useful to work on at the moment. Something else I've been doing, and I think it's possibly one of the most productive things I've done, is I've been on a working group in college looking at our food, right from the packaging to the amount of meat to the portion sizes, with academics in the college. So if you're really engaged with a specific topic, even if you don't cross kind of every area of the environment, and you think the college should be doing more on it, suggesting a working group to your college that engages students and tutors is also a really, really good way to get engagement. So yeah, I think this is a really good way to get involved. That's, consistent. It gets you embedded in your college, and you can kind of manage it on your own terms at the level of the college if you're less confident about joining bigger things, but they're not mutually exclusive and they intertwine really nicely. Yeah.
Brilliant, thank you very much. Yeah, so if you do have any questions, put them into the Q&A, and we will get to them as they come through. In the meantime, yeah, feel free to jump through. In the meantime, maybe we could jump back and just chat a little bit more. I wonder whether, Anna, you could talk a little bit about how students can kind of get involved in OCGJC and what kind of being part of the campaign means, or whether there's kind of different roles.
If you like as well, Ben, I've got some questions that have come through from Instagram that I can post to the panel if you like.
Fab. Anna, do you want to answer that one first, and then we can go to Daisy's question?
Yeah, hi. So basically, all you need to do to get involved is just to come to one of our weekly meetings at 6 p.m. And basically, it's a very non-hierarchical structure of a society. So there isn't anyone who's kind of on top of everyone, and we just meet up and we discuss what to do next. And for this year, what we've planned is to basically look in depth on all the funding that the university is receiving from fossil fuel companies in terms of research. So I'm part of the chemistry department, and lots of our students here are funded by BP and Shell. And of course, they then receive some valuable research in return, because those students then go back to these companies and work for them. So we're kind of looking to make this huge document which documents all of these links together. The other thing that we're working on tirelessly together with students, which is a very good way of getting involved, is working on divestment campaigns at different colleges. So if you're a student that you would like to get involved with us, just let us know and let us know what your college is. And we'll look into what our information is. We'll like advise you on how to start up a divestment campaign within college, and what people to email, how to get people engaged and involved, and what's the best way to proceed, basically. And the other thing that we're doing is protesting fossil careers. So the different career events, when you have fossil fuel companies presenting and trying to recruit people, we might go and like blockade the entrance, for example. And these actions, they might sound scary, but they're really good fun, actually. And last year, for example, when Glencore, which is a major coal company that has loads of environmental crimes on their list, was meant to come and try and recruit students here in Oxford, we blockaded the entrance and completely disrupted their action, that it didn't actually happen in the end. So these kind of things can have massive impact on the company, on the companies and on the students as well, because the students realize, they often don't realize and make these connections, but we help the students make these connections in these terms. Yeah, so just come along and see what you can get involved with. But also we're very open to any ideas and suggestions and happy to collaborate as well. So just come along and see.
Brilliant, thank you very much. And we've got a couple of questions coming through first. First of all, Nell says, is there any cost to join the societies? No, I don't think so.
No, there isn't. There's only one. Sorry,
go on, Nathan.
There's only one which we've introduced this year because the costs have increased because everything's gone online, which is for the School of Climate Change. If possible, we ask for a £10 donation, but there is financial hardship, which means you don't have to pay anything. But that's the only thing we ask for.
Brilliant, thank you very much. No worries. And the next one is from Stefania. They say, can I see somewhere again the list you put up before listing all the societies?
That's the list of all the different societies.
It's on the guide, isn't it, which you can download. And maybe you could put a link in the chat as well, Ellie, just so they can download it. Brilliant. And you can also type into the box. So Stefana's got it right there as well. Perfect. Daisy, questions?
Yeah, so we've got some other questions that have come through earlier. So it would be great to hear from each panelist about what their favourite thing has been about climate campaigning in Oxford, whether that's your favourite campaigning activity or just like the thing you enjoy most about it.
Who wants to take that one first? Anyone want to jump in? Or shall I pick somebody? Go on, Viola, go for it.
Happily, yeah, I mean, this is going to be a very stereotypical answer, but I think honestly, something that's really nice about Oxford is that people tell you when you go there, you'll meet lots of people who are interested in similar things. And then even more so in anything climate you get involved in, honestly, just the people that I've met through this and getting out of the college, even I love my college to bits, but even just getting to that level where you meet postgrad students, you meet people from all around the university. This is a really nice way to do it, and it's not, and you're also working together to do something. You're not just hanging out, so it's just really inspiring and fun as well.
Brilliant, thank you very much. Anyone else want to jump in on that one?
I can go next. So one of my favorite parts. Oh, sorry.
Go for it.
Yeah, one of my favorite parts about campaigning is seeing what impact we can have as individuals when we're joined up together. So seeing the university divest, for example, or the Balliol College divest after pressure from students has been really, really encouraging, because being at University of Oxford gives you this opportunity, this great opportunity to have further impact than you would normally have, just simply by being part of it and having impact on like one of the best institutions in the world. And also the same goes with colleges. The colleges really listen to the students, so it's like a great opportunity to have an impact on these, centuries-old institutions that are so difficult to change, but actually you can, and you should keep trying.
Brilliant, thanks. Perfect. Next, I'm just going to bring Vered in, and maybe Vered, you can just talk a little bit about how you can get involved in some of the opportunities that Emma mentioned, and also about the kind of how students can get involved in helping shape university strategy, obviously kind of through myself and the campaigning work, but also there's some ways that the university kind of directly asks to get involved, isn't there?
Yes, thank you. So the environmental sustainability team works on various fields that have to do with environmental sustainability in the university. Emma mentioned plastic and lab work in general. There's the carbon work, travel, food, etc., etc. We're now on, I guess, a more critical point where we're close to the end of defining the environmental sustainability strategy of the university. So until now, the university had different policies and strategies for different fields, but now there is an overall aim that the university is going to take upon itself as a strategy, which means that there are going to be more means and more ability to influence the separate divisions, department, etc. We're going to go out with a consultation probably later this month or next month for the final draft of the strategy. There was already one consultation last spring. So it's an excellent opportunity for students and staff and everyone who are involved with the university to influence what is there. At the moment, the existing draft has taken quite a bit from the previous consultation. So it really makes a difference. Look for it, look for what we're doing, and then have your say on what we should do.
Brilliant, thank you very much there. Should we go to another question, Daisy?
Yes, sorry, I was just trying to unmute myself. So the next question we had earlier is, obviously Oxford students are very busy and people have a lot of different demands on their time. So it would be great to hear from each of the panel, what do you think the #1 most important thing is for an Oxford student to tackle climate change? If they only have time to do one thing, what would you recommend?
We go to big question, but so many options. I'm sure everyone's going to want to plug their stuff. Let's go to Ellie and Bella first. You're the experts on action.
I would actually say the first thing is to make sure that you make the most of the talks that are here, because there is so much information out there and so many opportunities for education that it would be a waste not to. And then, think about how you can actually affect your college would be my answer. What do you think, Bella?
Yeah, and my top tip would probably be to I did the School of Climate Change last Hillary when it was still in person, and it was honestly one of the best things that I've done here. I think I kind of go by the belief it's only 2 hours a week. There's no like prep or anything, and it's always in the evening, so it doesn't normally conflict particularly with other like tutes or anything, and it's very much like I find it can help you to be more productive if you're kind of engaging different areas of your brain. And for me, I do English literature, so I loved getting to do like learn more about sciencey stuff and economics and policy, and to be honest, probably made me more productive. So I'd really recommend that. Yeah, I mean, my top one.
Brilliant, thanks. And maybe Emma, did you anything that you learned, take away maybe from the stuff that students been doing, or maybe students are going in and thinking about how they can help make their lab or their department more environmentally friendly? Anything from that about what kind of an action a student can take there?
Yeah, so I was just thinking like how much I agree with Ellie and Bella actually, because I think like if you go to talks like that, it just gets the cogs whirring, like it really starts you thinking about it. And if you reflect on it on an individual level, it makes it much easier to apply and convince other people to join in. So that especially works in labs, like you can convince sort of structural changes within your labs, within your departments. But actually, during my undergrad degree here at Lincoln as well, I was president in my second year, and I worked really closely with 2 E&E reps through Lincoln. And it was amazing to see how many changes you could get within the college and through the student body, just if people understood it a bit more. So it really is, making use of the wealth of information we have. It doesn't take that long. Like I learned so much just by reading through the Oxford Environmental Sustainability Team website, and they do so much here and they have so many initiatives, and I hadn't seen them in labs, even though I'd worked in multiple labs across the uni. So yeah, like half an hour, say like 3 times a week, surfing through some of the uni stuff will already do so much. Join the talks.
Brilliant, thank you very much. Daisy, should we go to one more question and then we will wrap up?
Yeah, this is just our last question from Instagram, which is, do you have any advice for students who are interested in getting involved in climate action, but they never ever have before, and they might be slightly intimidated because obviously it's an enormous task, especially when you're working with one of the oldest universities in the world. So does anyone have any advice for students who are a bit nervous about starting to get involved?
Peace, what would you say to people maybe thinking about getting involved and kind of making a difference?
Yeah, no, definitely. I do understand the sort of pressure or the fear, especially being a fresher. But everyone that I've worked with so far is really, really friendly, and just really open to share any information to help you work together in a team. So don't be scared. That is my advice. And don't feel pressured. We're all students, and so just like us, you'll be able to get involved in the same capacity.
Brilliant. Bella?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that also don't feel that there's like that this is more angled towards people who do certain subjects. So for example, we have quite a few geographers here. You might feel like, oh, but I don't understand the climate science. Like, that is not a problem. Like, it's very much about enthusiasm, and people from different disciplines will bring very different things. And also it's just like, even if you do a humanities, it's just quite fun to do something else for a bit. But yeah, would be my word on it.
And can I just say something as well, Ben, first one?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this accessibility point is something that OCS are really, really conscious of. So we try to, maybe not within one event, but certainly within the term card and also the School of Climate Change, we try to tailor both to people who are really not, quite knowledgeable on highly technical content, but also people for who it's the first time they're involving themselves with climate change or sustainability. So just look for those events that are more accessible, but we're very, very conscious of that, and we don't want that to put you off.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. That's a really good point. Was that a hand from Emma as well?
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to add, so I actually work in infection biology and biomedical sciences. I really didn't have much background in climate science when I did the internship, and I know so much more now. So like, it really is open to anyone. And I just wanted to add, like, I kind of felt a bit demoralized when I read how much progress we need to make, like how bad things actually are in some ways. But it was really good to turn that feeling of like, oh no, like, how do we deal with this, but make it into something productive. So I think also don't feel pressure from like the weight of the world's problems about it, and you can really turn it into something productive, and everyone's super friendly. So yeah, that's fine.
Brilliant, thank you so much. That's been, I think, really helpful, and we've covered a lot of ground very briefly. Just before we go and invite the people from each of the group just to pop in the chat how they can how you can get involved if they haven't already, just so people have got it. They've all got stalls as well, so you can head over to the stall in the fair to have talk a little bit more about what they're up to and how you can get involved. Thank you very much, and hope you enjoy the rest of the fair. Stick around, we are going over to NHS to talk about Talking Space at 4 o'clock. That's our next webinar. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone on the panel for getting involved and telling us about what you've been up to. It's really helpful. Thanks very much.